shit. Alrighty. Alrighty.
It's a great day. She says, make sure that you do, which you and I both needed moms in our superstars schedule, is schedule some chaos time. Yeah. 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 So you're like, oh man, I didn't see my schedule yet. No, I'm scheduling my chaos time. Okay.
Who are you talking to?
Sorry. I can't get that.
What's that mean?
You have to get it. Please.
It's a great day, Keller Williams. This is Rob. May I help you? 1 second, please. Okay, somebody wants Danielle?
Can you transfer to me? Transfer 2120.
Here's my first transfer. Okay, so I'm going to say
Transfer 2120.
2120
Send.
and transfer again. Awesome.
It's a great day, Keller Williams. This is Rachel. How can I help you? Anything, hang on. I don't know what that. Oh. No, I'm mermaid upstairs. When I go, help her out set up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my whiskey break.
It was impossible to do a for sale by owner, to have people to be able to come and look at my house during the day while I'm working.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Yeah, she's upstairs. She's just getting a Zoom meeting squared away. She'll be right back.
Okay.
You want me to grab her?
That's okay. I'm her newbie, so.
Oh, okay. She'll be
I'm
down in a
Lexi, by the way.
second. What's your name?
I'm Lexi.
Lexi, I'm Rob.
Nice to meet
Why did you
you.
say you were the
Because I just joined the firm.
Oh, is it with real estate?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's about 30 months.
Oh, okay.
You just got your license and everything?
I did. It was 2 Fridays ago.
And then I
Awesome.
finally decided where I wanted to be, so
There you go. I
Yeah.
hear you.
it's kind of
Good.
a process.
So you got a desk and everything, you ready to go?
Well, for 3 months, I guess, but I think I'm gonna join the servers and do the server group.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll be up there with them once I get done with all the
Good.
training.
I sit right outside your door.
Do you?
So you want to say hi.
Absolutely will.
Yeah, yeah. You get stuff that would square start doing. Are you, no, you're with the server group. You're not gonna be doing floor time and stuff then, are you?
Probably not.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
this is literally my first day. So,
Okay, cool.
yeah, I was like, I'll start October 1st. And they're like, you have some really good
So you're
training.
getting ready for the TV meeting today.
Hey, Rob, you're muted.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, there we go.
Hi, guys. I was just saying all these funny jokes and everything. I don't know why you guys ain't laughing. I was just saying we have 6 people here in the training room, along with everybody else here on Zoom land. And so we have 27 provisional brokers that are on our roster. So that's pretty cool. I think that's just showing that this market, real estate market, is really good and really strong because there's enough business for people to for it to go around. As you see, new agents are coming in. And so with all you provisional brokers, you're kind of all in the same situation, starting off, figuring out how to run the business, figuring out how to get leads, and kind of working on that. So today's class, what our topics are, and then we'll run through how we always run our provisional broker meetings. So we're going to start off by sharing something good Everybody's gonna say something that they've share a win over the past couple of weeks. That could be an appointment, a proud moment, or working up your database, or something like that, where some real estate related activity. We're gonna talk about, I pulled up some forms that I wanna talk about, and I don't wanna go into like detail with the forms. I wanna talk about the forms and kind of have it as more of like a conversation. What do I say in front of the sellers when I have this form? And the forms that we're talking about will be the professional services disclosure, the property disclosures, mineral oil and gas right, and the lead-based paint. And then we will finish off the meeting with any questions that you guys have, any hurdles that you're coming up and over that you want to maybe bounce off me some ideas, and we'll kind of go from that. So just a quick reminder. So my name is Rob Pettit. I'm the broker in charge. So my job is to have active and direct supervision over all of your files so that we are in compliance with the North Carolina Real Estate Commission. So if you ever have a problem or an error with the forms or with another agent or with one of your clients, I want you to notify me immediately. Because my job as the broker in charge is to intervene, investigate, and then attempt to remedy it so we can get the buyer and seller to a closing. That's ultimately what the goal is. Emotions run really high in a lot of transactions. So as the broker in charge, I have your backs as the agents. So let me intervene. I keep my emotions out of it with the goal of get to a closing. You know, when people want to fight or argue, that's not a problem. We can do that as well too. But just making sure that you notify me immediately of any problems. By email is the best way, so we can track all communication, and we'll go from there. All right, so let's start off something good. I'm going to start off in Kelly with you, and might just bounce around. So just be ready to share. Let's share a win that you've had over the past 2 weeks, Kelly.
Good morning, Rob. Morning, everyone. Yeah, I'm actually making some nice progress with one of my contacts within my sphere. So initially, they were not looking to list for at least a year, and was able to connect with them over this weekend again. And it's been pretty much weekly at this point, and it looks like we're going to try to get everything up and running to list either by the end of this year or first part of 2021. So definitely moving them along quicker than they initially thought.
All right, awesome. That's good. And that's just from working your database?
Yeah, well, that was just a contact that I had within my sphere. Yep.
Okay, awesome. And they are in your database, I'm sure. And
yes.
Continuously call them. Awesome, good job. All right, Rob, downstairs, you're on phone duty. Can you share a win with us over the past couple of weeks, please?
I'm doing phone duty. I guess that's pretty much. It's been a slow 2 weeks, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But I've made it to phone duty, so I'm doing floor time this week.
Okay, so it's and is there a reason why is that? Is it more yourself, or is there some hurdles that you need to overcome?
Probably just myself. I had some other things going on the last couple of weeks that kind of took me out of the game, which I don't like that happening. But
right.
Hey,
Okay.
at least I'm here doing floor time, so I'll get square.
That is a win. You're showing up here in the office. I agree. That's a win.
Yeah.
So, okay, thanks for sharing that, Rob. Autumn, how are you? Let's share a win that you've had over the past 2 weeks.
I'm doing well. I think I have my first listing. It's actually at my mom's house, but it's gonna be about a month before she's gonna put it on the market. But
Okay, right. You talked to me about that. Okay, good. And you were in Mega Camp last week. You heard Gary talk. So
that was excellent. Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
good. I'm seeing it sounds like you were able to pick a couple and one or two nuggets out of that. So
I did.
good. Awesome job. Pamela, how are you? Can you share a win with us over the past 2 weeks, please?
Good morning. Yeah, sure. So, yeah, I've been working through, my contact list and slow and steady, but I'm finding that some of my leads are coming from like some unsuspecting areas. So I have an Airbnb in the mountains.
Okay.
And my guest last week said that they just had such a great time in the mountains and that they're interested in finding a place of their own. So, that led naturally to how I might be able to help them. So
Awesome.
that's kind of a very, very nice way to come across a lead.
Right, Pam. I like how you say that. How some of these leads can be unsuspecting, you're not aware of it. But when you have, your realtor badge on, or you have that always in your thoughts of, hey, I can put this real estate conversation out there. You never know where the leads are coming from. So good job with that.
Exactly. Thank you.
Good morning, Priscilla. How are you?
I'm good.
All right. So let's have a share that you've had over the past couple of weeks. I mean, I think you have some clients under contract or something like that.
Yes, as of Sunday, my clients went under contract on a house, so very
Awesome.
exciting.
Did she join last week? I think so. She joined last week, and Priscilla has a client under contract, so fantastic. Awesome. I know you're coming in today, so we can discuss the next steps. She's the buyer's agent representing them, so we'll get the home inspection schedule. We'll make sure that the appraisal and the lenders are all on the same page. So I'm sorry, I stole your good news, Priscilla. I was just so excited for you.
Thank you.
All right, Liana, how are you, ma'am? Can you share a win that you've had over the past couple of weeks?
I am good. Thanks for asking. I actually have 2 leads currently, one on a rental from one of my sphere, and then I got a referral from someone in my sphere for like $125,000 buyer. So working with them, got their searches together, and I possibly have a relocation lead coming through from yesterday, working over the weekend and stuff.
Okay, great. Well, that's awesome. That's keeping you busy. So all those buyers that you're working, you're signing them up with a buyer agency contract. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm supposed to be meeting with one of them later on this week. I believe Thursday I'm meeting with her. And then one of them is my friend. She's doing rental properties. We haven't been able to find anything yet as far as the search goes, but as soon as I do, I'll get her to sign that.
Awesome. Okay, good. Just wanted to point that out. Even if there's someone that's related to you or someone friendly or someone that you still always have them sign that buyer agency contract.
Oh, for sure.
Good job on that. And there's a lot of good leads coming. So keep up that good work. All right, Drew, how are you doing today? Can you share a win that you've had over the past 2 weeks?
Yeah, I've got my first listing coming up, I believe this month or next month in October. Still working on finding a house for one of my clients in the peninsula. It looks like the inventory's kind of slowed down a lot, so not seeing a lot of new houses popping up. But yeah, just getting ready for this first listing.
Okay, good. Now, how did you get this potential listing here? What's the lead source?
It's for my mother. Yep.
Okay, fantastic, great. So good. All right, yeah. You just want to agree with that statement that you said the listings are extremely low. So
yeah.
Any type of listing that we're getting now, you're going to hear in coaching, and you're going to hear me say you should be lead generating. Focus on those listings. I mean,
right.
Any listing right now in this market is pretty much a good listing. So. Good. Keep focused on that. Let me know if you need any help with that listing going in there.
Thanks.
All right, and Renee, good morning. Can you share a win that you've had with us for the past 2 weeks, or maybe a week? You've been with us for about a week or so.
I feel like I just started. So closing out my current job and getting in with this. So just getting in my logins and all that. So my first meeting, and I should have some good stuff to report next week.
Awesome job, Renee. Yeah, that is a win. I know it's a process of getting everything set up and going up and running. So that's a win, just focusing on that and getting those up. So good. I'll be looking forward to hearing you have a listing appointment or a buyer's appointment for next week. Good job.
Sounds good.
All right, we're moving into the room here. We got a lot of faces here. Peter, hi. Can you start off? What's a win that you've had over the past couple of weeks?
I'll say 2 things. One, I finally got access to MLS.
Yes, that is a win. Okay.
It's taken a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing is I actually have a friend down in Florida that's looking to relocate up here.
Okay.
So we're working on a time frame for him to come up and show him a couple of areas, a couple of different things for him and his family.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Potential.
Those are two good sources. Okay. Yeah. And Peter and I had a little meeting one day last week, kind of just talking about our for sale by owner script and chasing for sale by owners. So that was
make a couple calls.
Okay. Good. How did those go?
One of them I got hung up real fast.
Yeah.
On the person listening, but said, they weren't interested, that they actually had somebody that if they didn't, sell the house, if they had somebody already that they had in line as an agent. So I wrote it down to all over there.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. I have someone that I'm going to use, but I'm just going to try it on my own just in case. They must really respect that other person a lot. kind of fun. So good. And something I would always say to that, oh, okay, well, really good. Well, how about we compare some services? So again, you're trying to just make that appointment. So, okay, good job. Oren, hi. Can you share a win with us over the past couple of weeks?
Yeah, similar to Peter, I'm just getting on board and getting my MLS access as of this morning.
Okay, this morning.
Yeah.
All right, good.
I haven't tested it out yet, but they say in the email that I should have access.
Okay. Yeah, that's MLS is the process of trying to get signed on. I know you should call them, like be relentless and continuously call them. I think you called them, right, Noel, a couple of times. So, and you got granted access, right? So that's kind of what you got to do. So good. Okay, keep pushing for us. Good. Demetrius, hello. What's a win that you've had?
Like the others, finally got MLS access.
Good.
I have some buyers that I've been working with, waiting on them to get the MLS, so they're excited to hear about that.
Okay, sure they will be. Okay, good.
Deal with some properties in Concord later this week.
All right, awesome. Now these buyer sources are how did you get these buyers from?
Family, friends.
Family, friends. Okay, so basically your database, sphere of influence, people that you know, telling them that you're in the business. Okay, good, awesome. Those are your best sources of leads right now. All right, Noel, hi.
Hi.
Why don't you share a win? You've been with us for a little over a week, maybe. You've already had a showing, potential listings coming up.
Yeah, so I guess I'll kind of go with
Sure, you and Austin, you guys can combo. That sounds good.
So we got our first listing, I think it's going live on Wednesday or Thursday.
It's going live on Wednesday and Thursday, okay?
I think it went in Monday, so that was a really good week.
Okay, all right. And now, are you guys taking the photos, or did you end up doing the measurements yourself?
No, someone's doing the measurements today. We did the photos yesterday.
Perfect. Okay, good. Awesome. So that's gonna make that listing look really. What price was this again? 240. Okay. Awesome. And you showed another property in Davidson. So now, how'd you get that buyer?
We're trying to get her mom to move down here.
Ah, okay. Okay.
She wrote an offer. She lost to like 7 other people.
Really? Multiple offers that we just lost. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, it's a strong market. Okay, fair enough. Well, good. Welcome to the office. This is your first provisional broker meeting, but you guys have been doing business for a while. And just one thing I wanted to point out when I was talking with Austin and Noel, you came from Chicago, right?
Yep.
So it was funny, some of the business deals or the real estate transaction, the process is completely different than here in North Carolina. So the questions that they were asking me, it was great to just see the difference of each state. And I know someone else, Priscilla, had questions about, she's working with a client from Colorado. And they were like, well, in Colorado, we didn't do this. Well, guess what? In North Carolina, we do. So, you're the expert. You know what you're talking about. It's going to take you a while to learn some things, but all good questions and stuff. And again, welcome aboard. Glad you guys are doing business already. All right, Madison. Hi, how are you?
Over the weekend, we showed some lakefront properties to a buyer that I got from.
Sphere of influence buyer. Okay. All right. Are they signed up with a buyer agency agreement? Yes, it's going to happen. Okay. Yeah, you have. That's gonna protect you, regardless of the situation. I mean, as the buyer's agent, before you schedule those showings, you really want to have that buyer agency contract in line. But at least I understand you're getting the showings, and it's a process. But good job on that. And Logan, do you guys go on showings together?
Not always.
No. Okay.
Most of the occasions we did, but
Okay. So what have you been focusing on, Logan, the past couple of weeks?
Kind of calling sale by owners and expires and things, and just getting further along in the process with the follow-up with some of them.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully getting closer to them, kind of funneling down into listing.
Have you gotten any listing appointments?
Yeah, preview appointments anyway, several of them. That's kind of how we're going based off of, and just trying to stay following up and staying top of mind, and
Okay.
being the agent of choice if that time were to come.
Okay. So you're kind of building up a relationship, previewing the house. Are you giving them any information, or are you leaving them any type of stuff, or?
Yeah, I give them information on both how they can sell the house by themselves, just to offer value to them without trying to push my services, and then
Yep.
also kind of briefly touching upon how, if you list with an agent, the different things that we can offer.
Okay.
Not trying to discount what they're doing, but also trying to build up what we can
Yep.
offer.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're in the door and you're having that face-to-face meeting. That's the most important part.
Right.
So when you're there, you're going to tweak that appointment as more appointments that you go on. You're figuring out your value, but getting face to face, that's the most important thing. So good job. And Nicole, is that your name? That's right. This is our first time meeting. Okay, Nicole, day number 1. Okay, why don't you just, you have your real estate license, your provisional broker license. What are your goals to do in real estate here for, I know we have a couple more months here in 2020, but what are your goals to finish the year?
Well, just, getting started, learning the databases, getting training, education. I have one friend that wants to use me as his buyer's agent.
Okay.
And then I have another coworker that's moving to High Point, so that could be a referral source there.
Sure, yeah.
And I mean, it's been a whirlwind. I finished my course on August 27th, passed my test on September the 11th, and now starting here in all less than a month. So it's been very, very exciting.
It's exciting, fast paced.
Yes.
Good. You're ready to dive into it.
Yes.
So all the training and your experiences and lead generation and motivation should come from this office, and we're here to support you. So
Wonderful.
welcome aboard.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Well, again, I like that. That's my favorite part, just because everybody's kind of in the same situation. You see, there's a lot of family members. We're working our sphere of influence, calling for sale by owners. I mean, that's what we have to do. And for sale by owners, I keep saying it and saying it again, but there are people that are like raising their hand, like, hey, I need help. And my strategy with them was, hey, if I can net you what you need to make using our services, would that interest you? Like, my goal is to make the appointment. I'm not going to be able to tell them what my services are over the phone. I'm not going to be able to talk about my commission over the phone. And when I'm face to face, I'm bringing value, but I have to ask for that listing. That was my biggest hurdle. When I was there, you go have a great appointment, have a lot of value. And Logan, I can kind of see maybe in some of your appointments, you're probably having a really good communication, really good, you're like meeting with the seller face to face. The last thing that I learned to overcome was like, hey, let's sign the paperwork. Let's get the listing, ask for the listing, and just continuously doing that. But when you're face to face, that's the only way you have that opportunity. So keep chasing those for sale by owners or chase those listings. Okay, so now let's move on to these forms that I pulled up, and we're gonna discuss, and I kind of, like I was saying, I just wanna have like a conversation about them. I don't really wanna go like line by line and talk about the forms, not at least in this class here. So the forms that I'm talking about here, the first one is the professional services disclosure. That's this form right here. It's form number 760. This is required for when you submit in your files as a buyer's agent. This outlines the services that a potential client can use: an accountant, an appraisal, home warranty, inspections. Look at all those types of inspections that they can use. Insurance, survey, and then they sign at the bottom. So there's a place where they can waive it, but they're not going to get it. They can select it, the initials, ordered by, the name of the service provider. So I kind of want to just talk about this, and what this form really is it's really a CYA, really just to cover yourself. This form, it was developed as a risk management tool to assist agents in framing conversations with their clients once a property is under contract. So you're under contract, and this is going to guide you, and it's required for buyer's agents in our office. As a seller's agent, we do not require it in your file, but as a buyer's agent, it is required. And it really outlines, because it's going to cover you. So perhaps the most important guideline is having the discussion about each and every service listed in the form, and specifically discuss the potential importance of ordering that service. Only then can the client make an informed decision about whether to select or to waive the service. So once a decision is made regarding a particular service, such as an inspection, the decision should be documented by having the client insert his or her initials on the appropriate line and then the appropriate column. If the client merely inserts initials on the line labeled inspections, the agent will have no evidence that each specific inspection was ever discussed or that the client made an informed decision on that service. So that's right here, discussing about here where it says just inspections, home inspection, HVAC inspection, pool inspection, radon, a septic, or the well. Now this form, you have to submit your forms to compliance within 3 days. However, we give a timeline for this. We give this a little bit longer for this form because we know once you go into contract, the buyer might not know if they want to have a septic inspection right away, or what type of, if they want to have a flood survey or a survey. So we give you a little bit of leniency on this form, but the point of it is to have a conversation with your client. And now our office policy, so it also talks about the office policy on who should you give the option to. So again, the client should always make the final choice of the service provider. And once that choice is made, the provider's name should be inserted in the appropriate box. So again, you hear some people say, we have a vendor for downstairs. Some people, we have home inspectors that are downstairs. So there's a couple, like maybe, I think there's 2 or 3 of them that are available. You can give those services available to them. Some of those inspectors do HVAC, they'll do septic. You just have to have that conversation and let the client choose. Now, again, you've had some people say, well, should I give them 3? It's not necessarily, you don't have to give them 3 options. They can do their own homework on who they want to use, and you can suggest who you want to use. Like for an accountant, not an accountant, for an attorney, I would recommend the people downstairs because they're right here in the office and they do a good job. Can you use NIP Law? Can you use any other of those services? Absolutely. You're just saying, it's just really having the conversation, and then the buyer will decide who they want to use, and then that's when you put your initials and put the name of the provider in there. So that's just what the point of this thing is. Let the client decide, but this is really, now let's say the client goes like this, say, hey, I don't want to have a radon test, and they select waive for the radon. And then 2 weeks later, they say, oh, I want to have a radon test. Does that mean they can't have it? No, they can't. This form is just between you and the agent, you and the buyer. So it's, again, it's just a CYA to cover yourself. So just in case the buyer says, hey, I didn't know that I could have, I had a home inspection, but I didn't know I could have an HVAC inspection. I didn't know I could do that. Well, actually, yes, you did, Mr. Buyer. We had that conversation when we said after the home inspection, if you want to have an HVAC, if you want to test the radon, test the septic, it just covers you for anything going forward.
If they go third party, are you supposed to set up those appointments?
Okay, good, very good question. So I like to say, as the agent, you should schedule those appointments because you want to be the center of the transaction. So if they say, hey, I don't want to use any of those home inspectors, I want to use the other one, it wouldn't hurt for you to contact them and have that conversation. Now, most of the home inspectors have their own super keys, so they can schedule their own showings and get into access to the property. But you as the buyer's agent, you should be the center of that transaction. Schedule the home inspection, speak with their lender. The lender orders the appraisal. So that's, make sure you have to stay on top of that lender to make sure that their appraisal is ordered. And again, if they want to order a radon test or HVAC, you schedule that. You schedule it, put it on, and then they have access to the property. But that gives you, because you want to get the report. When they have the access, when they finish the report, they want to send it to the person that paid for it and you as well too. And so if you had any other questions, you could follow up with them. Okay, any other questions on that form? All right, so moving on. The next forms that I want to talk about are the real properties, the residential property and owners association disclosure statement, the mineral, oil, and gas rights, and the lead-based paint disclosure. So with our office here, we use a service called Seller's Shield. It's an online an online place for your sellers to go and to complete those 3 forms. So I have the forms over here because these forms need to be completed by the seller. You cannot complete the forms for the seller. So what Seller's Shield is we have an agreement with our office, and when you have your MLS number, that's when you go and register. So if you're not registered with Seller's Shield, you just got your MLS numbers, make sure you email me that and make sure you're lined up with Seller's Shield. But what happens with Seller's Shield is you put in the seller's name and email address in the property, and then they'll get an email. And this is the email I put my own name in here. And so I'm proud to provide you Seller's Shield Smarter services, and then they have these 3 options. Seller Shield provides the seller, if they want, the opportunity to give them protection on after the closing on the items that are in the property disclosure. It also gives them guidance on how to answer the question. There's 3 options with the property disclosures. It's yes, no, or no representation. And we'll talk about that. But if you put in yes, you're disclosing the information that you know about the property. If you put that the HVAC unit is 15 years old, that's better than putting no representation, because then the buyer client knows, hey, this is a 15-year-old unit at the time they make the offer. So it's the stuff that you want your sellers to put in that information. So when they get the email, they get it first, you just confirm the information, and then you select which legal protection plan. They can have different types of coverage, but of course the last one is the free one. So you just put in, it's nothing, no cost, and then you complete the seller's disclosures form, and then when they're done, they get emailed PDF over to you. It's like, I think it's like $300 and then $400, and that depends on like if you want 2 years coverage or 3 years coverage, and up to like, I want to say $20,000 if they take you to court or something like that. So it's just like an extra protection plan. It's not mandatory, you don't need it. So, and I really just want to talk about these property disclosures. So the residential property disclosures needs to be filled out for every single family home, individual condo, townhouse, and like in units up to 4 units. So you don't need this for new construction or for bank-owned sales or for lease purchase sales. And so when you check yes, you must explain or either describe the problem or attach a report from an attorney, engineer, contractor, pest control, or other expert in that area. If you check no, you're stating you have no actual knowledge of the problem. If you check no representation, you are choosing not to disclose the condition or the characteristics of the property, even if you have actual knowledge. So, and then again, you must promptly give this property disclosure to any potential buyer before they give an offer, or up to 3 days. Once you have an offer, it's required to give it to them within 3 days, or they can back out and get all their money back. So here we go. The seller's going to just complete all these questions to the best of their knowledge. And if they know of an issue, then they should put that in there. If they don't, then just put no. And it's about all the information about the property, your major systems, the electric, the heat, the air conditioning, the plumbing, the roof, septic, well, and you just answer these questions. And again, you're better off, I always tell them, you're better off answering yes or whatever you know, or yes or no. If you don't know of any of the issues with it, then check no. Don't put no representation. That kind of gives some red flags. Sometimes where you will see no representation is if it's an investor-owned property or someone's not living there. So that would be someone, if that wasn't the case, they say, why do they put no representation? Well, that person doesn't live there or hasn't lived there for the past couple of years, so that's why they put no representation. But any person that lives in the property, have an answer. It just eliminates some problems going down.
So Rob, if your client wants to select no representation, what would you recommend? How would you recommend having that conversation with them?
I really would just say why.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to know why. I just want to know where because clarity is power. So why do you want to want to know why you want to put no representation. If it's because, well, I don't want to raise any red flags, well, then you could say, well, putting no representation raises more red flags. If they say, well, I haven't lived there. Okay, that's fair enough. That's a good answer. Or if they say, well, I know there's some issues there, but I don't want to say. Well, you're better off just saying it from the front, so that eliminates any problems down the road. Say, hey, I didn't know that I'm just trying to think of what some issues come up here. I didn't know, the roof is 20 years old. It's still functional, but it's old. We want a new roof. Well, you can say, no, I'm not going to give you a new roof because we said it was 20 years old and your report says it's fully functional. So no, we don't need to do a new roof. You're just trying to cover yourself against more CYA. So I always suggested that they fill it in if they know. If they don't know, then if they say, well, okay, how am I supposed to know if there's any issues with the dwelling's heating or air conditioning? No, does it work? If it works, then you know of no issue. Do you have a report that says it doesn't work? Well, then you know. But if you're not a heating expert, if it works, then as far as you know, it works. So there's no known issues with it. Okay, so that's page 2, and then page 3, you have to answer up to question number 31. And then when you go to question number 32, question number 32 and on is discussions about their HOA. So you put in the name of the HOA, the dues, how much it costs. And then if you see if there is no HOA, then you just check no. And then the last page on page 4, you're just going to skip to the bottom. There's nothing to answer. So if you answered yes to there's an HOA, and fill out the information about what the HOA includes and costs. If there is no HOA, you just skip down. You don't answer anything on this page, and you just initial and sign the bottom. Okay, we're good to go with the property disclosures. Any questions on that? Okay, so again, just a conversation piece to have with your clients. I always, when I was on my listing appointment, I would print out this document, and while I was filling out the listing agreement, I say, hey, this is your homework, and you got to fill this out. I mean, they may ask me questions and stuff like that, but for they had to fill it out. It had to be in there, right? All right, let's move on to the next one, the mineral oil and gas rights disclosure. So this is a one-page disclosure, and I always kind of made people laugh with this, or just like, so this is the mineral oil and gas rights. Did you ever sever or sell the mineral oil or gas rights of the property? And it's kind of a funny question. They're like, I mean, like if you sold the oil rights of the property, you would know, right? You'd probably have a lot of money. So if you sold one of those rights, you would know a lot. And then obviously this form came out because at one point a buyer or a seller sold the property, but not the mineral oil or gas rights. So we have to have this one disclosure form. So it was just a way to answer the question. Did you ever do it? No, just put no all the way down. Some people will say for the first question, did the previous owner do it? You can put no, you'll see no representation there because you don't want to answer for the other previous owner. However, you're the current owner right now, so you should know that answer, but you will see no representation a lot on that. This is disclosures. You need this disclosure for the same exact reasons on the property disclosures for single family residentials, individual condos, townhouses, and units up to 4 units. All right. Lead-based paint. Who knows, or what age does the property have to be to have a lead-based paint disclosure? Does anybody know?
75.
1978. Yep, that was the year I was born, so it must have been a lot of lead-based paint before that. So any house built before 1978, this is required. This form is also on the Seller's Shield website. So again, not all, if your property was built in 1979, you do not need this property. It's built 1978 or prior. And again, just it was a simple one. I would just ask the seller, do you have any knowledge of any lead-based paint? Yes or no? Most likely it's no. Do you have any reports saying there's lead-based paint? No. I say check here and check here. That's why I highlighted those. So do you have any knowledge? The only way they would have knowledge is if they had a report. So if they don't have a report, chances are they don't know it. They don't have knowledge of it. So do you have any knowledge of any lead-based paint? No. Do you have any reports? No. If you do, then if they do know, yeah, I know there's lead-based paint. I painted that room with lead paint last month or whatever. It was been painted. So, okay, then you have to disclose that. But for the most part, you're asking that question. Do you have any knowledge? Do you have any reports? And also on this form, the agent does have to sign. They just have to put their initials. The lead-based paint disclosure right there. So those are your 3 property disclosure forms. In order to send over an offer, you must include the disclosure forms with your offer. And on the offer form, it says you have to check the box stating that if you got the property disclosures and the mineral oil and gas rights, and as you noticed, the sellers will have already signed these disclosures uploaded on the MLS. So as a buyer's agent, you're going to submit and have your buyer sign on the bottom when you send your offer over. Okay, anybody have any questions on these disclosures, on how to complete with Seller Shield, or how to have conversations with your clients about getting these completed? I know forms aren't the most exciting topic to talk about, but still required to have the conversations about them. So we're filling them out and we're making sure that we are in compliance. But it's just got some ways to just conversate. I just wanted to kind of point out some conversations that I have with the sellers to complete them and how to give them some information. But really, to be able to utilize Seller Shield now, because it's all online, they complete everything and you get sent back to you with a PDF, which makes it easy for you to upload it right to command. Okay, so now we have the team meeting here in about 20 minutes, but I did want to finish off here our meeting with any questions that you guys have, or any hurdles that you're coming up against, or want to pick my brain about a certain topic or anything. It's the PB meeting. We're all provisional brokers. This is a safe area, so I'm going to open it up for any questions. If anybody have anything we want to discuss here.
When did the Ignite classes start again?
Ignite classes are starting in October, and Amber is working on that calendar to get that back out there. So that's going to start in October.
What is that?
The Ignite courses. Those are, they're all going to be online on Zoom, and it's going to be taught by agents throughout the region about different topics on running your business.
Is it geared towards like getting started?
Correct, yes. Yes.
Yeah, they're excellent.
Yes, geared towards getting started. Demetrius, your question.
When you upload a contact into command, you have to upload the as well.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's a good question. So, no, you don't need to. If you put a contact in command in your database, you don't have to. You only have to add the documents for that if you go under contract or if you have a listing agreement. So it is it's a requirement for you. Really, would just keep that in your own file. So if you meet somebody and you have that working with real estate agents for them, right? You can have them sign, but say they never pan out, never buy a house, or never do anything like that. You do not need to upload that to command. It's only if you go under contract, then it's required for you to have that. Okay, how are we doing? Who else has any other questions here? Yes.
What's an average diligence amount that you would advise to client multiple offers? I know it's going to be different based on their motivation, but like if you're on the listing side, usually $1,000 when you laughing, or you're like, oh, that's good, or you're like, wow, I got another one that's 20 grand.
Okay.
You know, what's like?
So and the answer to that is it depends, and it depends on the seller and what situation they're at. So I'm going to give you a scenario what I had. So I had a listing at a house that was listed and under contract at it was 330. We were under contract, and they got $500 for due diligence. Okay, and we only took the property off for, I think it was 21 days. Okay, that buyer backed out of the deal, and that seller was a little irate. Said, well, we took the house off the market for 21 days. You only got $500. I said, okay, fair enough. 2 weeks later, we got another offer, and they countered. They actually accepted less. So they accepted $325, but they wanted $2,500 for due diligence. And it was only a 30-day because they felt they got burned before. So that wasn't in multiple offers. It just depends on what the seller. So they accepted less sale price, but more due diligence because they wanted that money up front. So if you're in a multiple offer situation as a listing agent, I would want to know how much. I think that due diligence money would be an important factor, because that's how much money that buyer has in the game. I mean, they have skin in the game. They have some money that they could lose. So that due diligence factor when you're up against multiple offers is a big factor.
Would you advise them like a percentage of the purchase price?
So
now I know it's so different, but just to kind of get off.
What's a joke? Yeah, $1,000 is a good number. I do see 1,000 a lot. I see $2,000 a lot. I mean, $5,000, I don't often see that much, not in due diligence, because if they back out, so the due diligence money, the purpose of it is to allow the buyer to back out, because they can back out for a reason or no reason at all. So the due diligence number is a factor when you're, again, multiple offers, because your offer is probably going to be pretty close to what market value is. Some people will say, I'll go higher, but do less due diligence. But what if it doesn't appraise? There's other there's what if stuff. If you make a good solid offer with a good due diligence, I mean, in multiple offers, you're going to want to go higher. If you're just starting off initially, I mean, I see 500, I see 1,000 in all different price ranges.
If the home doesn't appraise and the buyer doesn't have cash to cover the difference, the seller can kill the deal and keep their diligence money.
So depending if there's FHA financing, then no, because the property has to sell and sale price has to match for the appraisal. But if it's a conventional, yes, and it doesn't appraise, and the buyer the buyer doesn't have the money and the seller doesn't want to adjust, there is no subject to appraisal value unless they would lose their due diligence. Yes. Yeah, that's right. So I mean, that kind of eliminates some people who say, I'm going to make crazy, ridiculous high offers, and then if it doesn't appraise, well, you could lose your money there. But if they're FHA, then the sale price has to equal the appraised value. So it depends on their financing situation.
And then same thing for inspection. If they find out the AC doesn't work and the buyer doesn't want to move forward, and the seller says, I don't care, I have 5 other offers, I'll keep your due diligence and go to the next offer.
Yeah, right. Because the properties are sold as is. Right. It says it in the agreement, properties are sold as is.
Every property is sold as is.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they're sold as is. So I mean, yes, you can make your
That's a law here. Every home is sold as is.
Yeah, it says it in the offer to purchase. Properties are sold as is. Yep, and then yeah.
As far as the buyer, the request that.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it.
Yep.
Welcome to North Carolina.
Yeah, right. So that's the importance of reading those seller's disclosures. Yes and no. No representation is going to be a red flag. Yep. And so due diligence money. A buyer can back out for a reason or no reason at all. Now, if you have a reason, there's a hole in the roof or something like that. Well, if that buyer backs out, guess what? That seller still has a hole in their roof. So they're going to have to deal with it for the next buyer. So those are items that you're putting together. You're putting your case together that buyer requests the seller to repair.
Can the seller ever back out?
They have certain reasons to back. They can't just back out. If they do, they would most likely have to give back the due diligence for whatever their reason would be. But for them, they can't just terminate the contract just to terminate. No. That due diligence money plays a big factor in it, because it's the buyer's got skin in the game, and the seller gets that money right up front, non-refundable. I mean, it gets credited to the buyer at the closing, but I mean that seller gets a check right away, and they cash it right away. So that's if they're taking the property off for a month and their mortgage payment's $1,500 a month, and they're getting $1,500 for the due diligence, that's going to benefit the seller right there. They're covering a month. The buyer is going to be able to do all their inspections and all that during that due diligence period. The due diligence money is made directly from the buyer to the seller. The earnest money deposit is made, that's held with the closing attorney in the trust. But the due diligence money is made by Joe Smith, the buyer, made directly out to Bob Sullivan, the seller, made directly. You take a picture of it, and that's recorded and made on the purchase, offer to purchase on the first line for the due diligence money.
So our seller's not that concerned with their earnest money, like the amount of it.
Absolutely right. Because it doesn't matter. If they back out, then they get the earnest money back. Yeah. So I mean, some people still have that earnest money, a larger number, and people will I'll put whatever, a lower due diligence but a higher earnest money, but it's protected. It's protected, right? Exactly. But still, some sellers will still want to see that, but it's protected.
So would you say like an inspection should be like the first thing ordered? Because I know like I was going to buy an investment property.
Okay.
And I got the inspection done, and then there was going to be like $13,000 of
Yep.
Lost, my due diligence.
Just your due diligence, yep.
And then the money that I had to pay for the inspection, but I was just glad that I didn't pay for an appraisal and everything else.
Okay, yeah, first thing you should do is order the inspections, number one. Absolutely, order the inspection, get them out there as fast as possible. And right behind that is the appraisal. Depending on how long your due diligence period is, if you're getting financing, your due diligence period should be at least 30 days because you want to make sure the appraisal is done. So home inspections, I've ordered immediately, and then speaking and confirming with the lender to order that appraisal. But yeah, the home inspection done right away because good, right? You lost your due diligence in that price, but imagine if you went forward and had all these, that could have been a heck of a lot more costly. So I'm just curious. So when you backed out, did the property go back on the market? Did they lower the price, or what did they do? Did you share your report with them?
We did share the report. I actually, it was all when like COVID first hit.
Okay.
It was like in March.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like I had the inspection and I, felt like I was gonna back out just because we didn't even know if there was mold in the walls of the home. We only
Okay.
knew that there was mold underneath. So it was already like $13,000 just for the crawl space area. And I was like, this could.
That's a lot of rent flat, right?
Money pit.
Sure.
And so then like the very next day with COVID, I was laid off for 6 weeks. So I wouldn't have been able to
Okay.
get the financing anyway. So everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, right.
So it all worked out, but I never followed back up to see
No.
what happened with that house. Just 'cause
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious if they lowered the price or what they ended up doing.
I'm not really sure, but we did, mention everything, and it was actually a realtor.
Owned
And-
property.
Yeah.
Okay.
But could the seller refuse to acknowledge receipt of their full report and still have no knowledge?
That's kind of like gray area. If like they're gonna, she's gonna you send the report. It's most likely now. Depending on what they wrote on the property disclosures, I guess I would have to see because the agent knows, right? So it's like.
They know if they said I'm not acknowledging, I'm not opening the email, not acknowledging.
Sure. Well, then you never received it, right? Yeah. No, that's yeah.
That's what you guys did. Is what I'm not doing. I'm not paying for an inspection to find out for myself. So don't send it to me. I'm not opening it.
Like a smarter listing agent, maybe probably you have that option. So if that's what the buyer, but if the buyer's sending it, depending on what type of request they're at, sounds like this buyer found out all these issues and you guys kind of just like back it out. But if so, it kind of depends on that situation. But right, if they're sending over all these reports and that, send me over what your requests are. You can look at the request but not open the report. It's kind of, if they have that issue there with that buyer, you're going to have an issue with all buyers going forward. So you might not be able to sell the house. Okay, everybody. Well, we got 10 minutes here. The next meeting starts at 11. PJ is going to be running that. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. And we'll go from there. I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
You're welcome.